Pricing your video production has to be one of the most scary, obscure things when it comes to owning your own video production company. No one knows how much to charge, and everyone wonders how much are people willing to pay and how much is my productions worth. And I'm going to give you some quick tips on how you can more easily and effectively price your video production. I have 7 steps to follow to basically price any project that you do. Before we get into that, I have 3 quick little tips before we go into the 7 steps. Okay, so tip number 1 is custom quote everything. I custom quote everything because it's better than having a set package, because there's so many variables, so many things that can change. And if you custom quote, you can increase your pricing over time without it being extremely obvious to your customers. When I first started out, I was only charging maybe $100 per video. Now I typically charge about $3,000 per video. That was about 3 years of progress in my business, where I just slowly raised my prices as I got more demand and my skills and confidence raised. But it's easier to do that when you custom quote everything. If you have certain packages and you tell everyone up front, I have this package and this one costs this much. No, don't try to do that, because then you're gonna pigeonhole yourself into a certain pricing, and everyone's gonna expect that from here on out. So it's really difficult to raise prices, but also there's just so many variables to think about when pricing. Also, everyone's rates are different. So you might hear my rates and go, oh, that's really cheap. Other people are going to go, that's so expensive. I would never charge $3,000 for a video. That's outrageous. Well, everyone prices different. Pricing is relative. It depends on where you live, what market you're in, how long you've been in the industry, how much confidence you have to step up to a client and charge. There's so many variables, so don't focus too much on what other people are charging. Don't worry about it too much. Charge what you want to charge or what you believe you can charge, and go from there. The biggest mistake that I see when it comes to pricing is people actually price too low. People's confidence is pretty low when it comes to pricing their production. They look at other companies that are doing these grand, big budget, like great videos, and they go, oh, well, my quality isn't that good, so I'm gonna charge a really low amount. Or I want to get more business, so enabled for me to do that, I need to charge less. That's a misconception. You probably need to charge more than you're comfortable with, because wherever your comfort level is, that's where your own mind is telling you, well, my production is worth this. Well, I'm here to tell you that your production is probably worth more than you expect. Unless you're one of those overly confident people, but I don't find that too often, at least in our world of video production. All right, so 7 steps to price any video production projects. Number 1, establish a project minimum. What that means is every project you do has to be at least a minimum budget of whatever you decide. When I first started out, I told myself and promised myself I would not take on any video project that paid less than $100. So if someone came to me and said I had 50 bucks, sorry, it's gonna have to be at least $100. I don't even care if it takes 20 minutes to film and edit. My minimum is $100. Now I have my minimum set at $800. And someone came to me actually today and asked about, hey, I have a video that's gonna take an hour to film and an hour to edit. How much will you charge? I said, well, I'd have to charge at least my minimum, $800. So the reason you do this is because you don't want to get bogged down with a whole bunch of small micro budget projects. You don't want to have 100 projects in a month that only pay you $20. Don't do that. It's stressful and it's just not worth it. So set a project minimum. Number 2, decide your hourly rate. Now, we don't charge by the hour in video production. We don't want to do that. because then we have to start nickel and diming our clients. If they go 30 minutes over, then we're going, oh man, we're gonna have to charge you half of an hour. No, you charge by a half and full day rate, which we'll get right into in step number 3. But when it comes to your hourly rate, this is what you decide on in your own head for your own reference to figure out how much a project should cost. So if you think a project is probably going to take you 20 hours of work when it's all said and done, how much will your hourly rate be? When I first started out, to give you an example, I started at $20 per hour. And then about 4 years later, now I'm doing $100 per hour at least per project. And so when I'm thinking about what a project should cost, I'm thinking, okay, well, it might take 10 hours to film and edit. To complete the project, my hourly rate is $100. So I'm going to charge them $1,000. So the customer just sees $1,000. They don't know my hourly rate, but that's at least a benchmark to help me price different jobs. So decide on your hourly rate. It just depends on where you want to set it, how much experience you have, how much traction you have in the market, etc. Number 3, set your half and full day rate. This is what you're going to charge for filming, half and full days. Currently, my full day rate of filming is about $1,500. It includes 2 cameramen and 2 HD cameras, lighting, audio, and at least 8 hours of filming, or up to 8 hours of filming. Or they can do a half day rate, and that's about $1,000 for the half day film day rate. And it's 4 hours and includes the same, but has to be no more than 4 hours. So even if it's an hour of filming, I still charge my half day rate. Because like I said, we don't work by the hour. You don't want to do that. Number 4, add extra gear. This means if there's something that's not typically included in your projects that you have to rent, perhaps, maybe you need an extra lens, or you need to rent that red camera or more lighting gear or whatever, then add that additional cost into the proposal. And I always add a little bit extra. If it costs me $500 to rent a piece of equipment, I'll probably charge more like $700 or $800 for that. So there's a little bit of a margin. Number 5, add extra crew. If your production needs more than the general number of people that your projects include, then you want to charge extra for it. I always have a 2-man crew starting out with my base level, but then if they need 3 or 4 people on crew, depending on the project, then I charge more for that. Number 6, add editing. Editing needs to come from your hourly rate. So again, you're not going to tell your customer your hourly rate, but when you estimate and quote their price, you can think, well, this project is probably going to take me 10 hours of editing, or you say 6 hours of editing times your hourly rate. So most projects take me about, I'd say, 7 hours of filming, or 7 hours of editing, and my hourly rate is $100, so usually $700 at least for editing is what I'm charging. Number 7, add extras. This is where all the variables come in. There's so many things to think about when pricing video production, and every project is different, so trying to make a package is almost impossible, and I don't even recommend it. So voiceovers, on-screen actors, motion graphics, animations, anything like that that's outside of the typical scope of a video that you need to add in, do it. Don't be scared to charge for extras. If the client wants it, or their budget is large enough to provide for a whole bunch of bells and whistles, then make sure that they're paying for it and it's not coming out of your profit. Which kind of brings me to the last and final tip, is all of your expenses for the project, including maybe you have to pay someone, you have to pay an extra videographer, maybe you have to pay for some rental gear or some travel cost. All of your expenses in your project need to be less than 30% of the entire budget that you charge the client, okay? So don't have $1,000 worth of project expenses and then only charge them $1,500 for the video and make $500 profit. Don't do that. Make sure you have a margin and your videos are profitable for you, because that's what a business is all about. We don't want to get stuck in the routine of, constantly making small amounts of money for our projects. We want to gradually become more and more profitable over time as our experience and skill and customer demand increases. So I'm Chase Turnbow. I have a video production company called Chase Me Films, and I'd love for you to subscribe to this YouTube channel so I continue to give you some more tips and tricks about growing a successful video production company.